When we hear the name Antarctica, we see a vast area covered with ice and the kingdom of black and white penguins. It lies almost entirely south of the Kumeru Circle, surrounded by the Southern Ocean, also known as the Kumeru Ocean. This continent is geographically located at the South Pole of the Earth. Antarctica is the world's fifth largest continent, about 40 times larger than Europe. Its area is 10.8 million square kilometers. There are precious gems hidden under the ice of the continent of Antarctica. What valuable resources are hidden, which the superpowers of the world send their teams of experts every year to rescue? There are many mysteries known and unknown about Antarctica for ages. Dear visitors, today I will tell you some unknown information about Antarctica. The video is going to be very informative. Hope you stay with us throughout the video. About 200 million years ago, there was the era of Zeus in Crete. Then Asia, Europe, America, Africa, Australia, and Antarctica were all together, which was called Gondwana continent. When the Earth was densely covered with forests, dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Exactly 80 million years later, a great earthquake hit the Earth. As a result, the Gondwana supercontinent broke up into 5 continents. It gradually separates, and the continent of Antarctica moves south. Then a huge meteorite hit the Earth. This meteorite killed all the dinosaurs on Earth. The continent of Antarctica is gradually moving towards the south of the Earth. Since then, it has taken 60 million years to reach the present position of the Earth. 3 million years ago, Antarctica's climate began to cool. As the ice layer falls, penguins are born. Since then, penguins have ruled Antarctica. Antarctica is the southernmost, and the world's only, uninhabited country. Antarctica, in general, is colder, drier and windier than other continents. It is essentially a polar desert, where rainfall is negligible. About 70% of the world's freshwater reserves are frozen here. It is surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean and the Southern Ocean. About 98% is covered by the largest ice sheet on Earth. This is called the Antarctic ice sheet. If these ice caps melt, the world's sea level will rise by about 60 meters, 200 feet. As a result, many coastal countries of the world will be lost in seawater. The lowest temperature recorded on Earth is -89.2 degrees Celsius in Antarctica. In summer, the temperature in the coastal area is up to 10 degrees Celsius. Although Antarctica is uninhabitable, some animals live there. They have adapted themselves to this cold state. The world's largest mammal, the blue whale, lives here. There are also various species including mites, penguins, sea seals, and tardigrades. Most of Antarctica is covered with ice, with an average thickness of 1.9 kilometers. You will be surprised to know that only one piece of ice covers 98% of the continent of Antarctica. This single piece of ice gives Antarctica the title of 5th largest continent on Earth. This ice sheet extends to about 14 million square kilometers. And its thickness is about a mile. The Transantarctic Mountains were formed about 20 million years ago. Dinosaur fossils were first found in 1990 to 91. In this Transantarctic mountain near the South Pole, Antarctica is covered in its white ice, one of the world's largest Gambartsev mountains, which are still not visible to humans because they are covered by huge ice sheets. These mountains are about 100 million years old. It is covered with ice about 10,000 feet thick and extends over 750 miles. The height of the highest peak of this mountain range is about 9,000 feet, which is equal to about 1/3 of the height of Everest, the highest peak in the world. Antarctica is different from other continents for many reasons. There is also a difference between day and night in this continent. Antarctica is covered in darkness for 1 to 6 months in winter, while the sun does not set for 6 months in summer. There are active volcanoes in Antarctica covered with white ice. Rebus volcano is the second largest volcano in Antarctica. The largest volcano on the continent is Mount Siddle. Although it is inactive, in 1820, during a Russian expedition led by Fabian Gottlieb and Mikhail Lazarev, the Antarctic ice sheet was first discovered. In the following decades, through French, American and British expeditions, Antarctica was explored more deeply. In 1895, a Norwegian team made the first confirmed landing in Antarctica. At the beginning of the 20th century, some expeditions were completed inside the continent of Antarctica. In 1909, a group of British explorers first reached the South Pole. In 1978, a group of researchers from Argentina were stationed in Antarctica. The chief of the Argentine army was also there. There, a man's wife named Esperanza Beach gave birth to a child. In Antarctica, as the territory included in Argentina, the child is registered as Argentine. Greeny's Book of the World records Emilio Marcos Palma, born in Antarctica, the first human. After Emilio, more babies, about 10, were reported to have been born in Antarctica, but Emilio, the first human baby in history, was born on the continent of Antarctica. In 1959, between 12 countries, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. Currently, 46 countries have signed the agreement. This treaty prohibits military activities and mining of minerals in Antarctica. Permission is granted for research purposes only. Here 1,000 to 1,500 scientists from different countries are engaged in various researches in Antarctica, but in winter it comes down to 1,000 people. NASA scientists, for Mars research, use the environment of Antarctica. Antarctica's polar desert conditions are similar to those on Mars. NASA tested the first robot in Antarctica, which later landed on Mars. Like people in Antarctica in winter, astronauts in space don't live in sunlight. Sunlight helps the human body produce vitamins. To really understand how to help astronauts in space get enough vitamins, scientists chose the Antarctic environment to conduct research there. Also, Antarctica is a very important region for researching the effects of climate change on Earth. 100 years ago, many seafaring explorers reported in their writings that in the seas east of Antarctica, floating groups of green icebergs. According to them, only one iceberg in every 1,000 icebergs is emerald green in color. But why is the color of these icebergs green? No, it is in any precious stone, jewel treasure. To know the answer to this question, scientists started research 100 years ago. Scientists previously thought that tiny green plants grew on icebergs in the oceans of Antarctica, thus creating green icebergs. But, due to different science, different opinions, could not come to a definite conclusion. The mystery remained a mystery for a year. Oceanographer Laura Harries of the University of Tasmania, Australia, went on an expedition to Antarctica. On reaching Antarctica, he tested the amount of iron contained in the iceberg ice. He found that the ice contained about 500 times more iron than glacial ice. The results of that experiment, by Laura Harries, later exploded. University of Washington glaciologist Stephen Warner set out to find the green iceberg mystery. With his team, arriving in Antarctica, he climbed up with his mountaineering equipment on top of an enormous iceberg, whose color was green. Scientist Warren was shocked at the top of the iceberg. No, Warren wasn't surprised by the iceberg's dark green color, he was surprised by the clarity of the glacier. But the emerald green glacier was as clear as glass. And there were no air bubbles inside the green iceberg. Warren knew right away that it was no ordinary iceberg. After many experiments, scientist Warren came up with his second theory: iron oxide is behind the green color of icebergs. But here also the question arises: the iron content in seawater is usually very low. So where is so much iron oxide coming from in the sea ice? Scientist Warren wrote in his research paper published in the Journal of Geophysical Research, this iron oxide is coming to the sea from the land of Antarctica. Antarctica's land glaciers come seaward to rub against Antarctica's rocky floor. Abrasion results in the formation of stone powder, called glacial flour. This glacial flour contains a large amount of iron oxide, then the seawater accumulates to form sea marine ice. Glacial flour penetrates that ice and creates dark green glaciers. A breakthrough discovery was made in solving the mystery of color. At the end of the research paper, the scientist Warren said, "For 100 years we have puzzled Antarctica about the source of the color of the green glaciers. But now it all seems trivial. Because we understand the extraordinary contribution of green glaciers, it is these emerald green icebergs that have sustained marine life for millions of years, providing nutrients. Thank you very much for watching the video. Subscribe to our Going Century channel. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.